A Malian immigrant in Paris, whose dramatic rescue of a child made headlines around the world, is rewarded with French citizenship. Cutting-edge technology helps combat cervical cancer. And a London mosque's bold new approach to accepting Ramadan charity. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Esther Gidou. You are in for Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Libya's rival leaders met in Paris on Tuesday to negotiate a political roadmap, including elections, in an effort to bring order to their war-torn country. Representatives from 20 countries, including Libya's neighbors, regional and Western powers, as well as international organizations, joined the talks. The UN-backed conference aims at securing parliamentary and presidential elections in the North African country, possibly by the end of this year. Libya is split between rival governments in the east and west, each backed by an array of militias. Participants to the conference include Prime Minister Fayez al-Sarraj, head of Libya's UN-recognized government in Tripoli in the west, and Khalifa Haftar, the commander of Libya's self-styled National Army, which dominates the country's east. The Saudi-led military coalition in Riyadh says Yemeni government forces are steadily advancing with the cooperation of multinational coalition forces and are only 20 kilometers from the rebel-held port city of Hodeidah. Some Houthi rebels have already retreated from Hodeidah. Yemeni government forces plan to take back the port city in the near future to cut off the Houthis from the external supplies. The Red Sea port is a key channel for the Houthis to obtain external supplies since the outbreak of Yemen's war. Saudi Arabia has been leading an Arab coalition in Yemen against Iran-backed Houthi rebels since 2015. The Houthi rebels frequently fire missiles towards Saudi Arabia border towns, but most of them are intercepted by Saudi forces. 10 people in northern Mozambique have reportedly been beheaded in an attack over the weekend in an area where previous Islamist attacks have been reported. Police in the capital, Maputo, could not immediately give details of the attack in a village near the town of Palma, close to Mozambique's border with Tanzania and near one of the world's biggest untapped offshore gas fields. Mozambique State Radio reported on Tuesday that unknown persons were killed by decapitation in Olumbi, Palma district. The station did not provide any further details on the attack. Portuguese news agency Lusa, quoting national broadcaster TVM, said 2 children were among those beheaded, but the report could not be immediately verified. The World Health Organization says it is cautiously optimistic about the progress of the Ebola response in the Democratic Republic of Congo after 90% of people at risk in the city of Mbandaka were vaccinated. WHO Deputy Director General for Emergency Preparedness and Response Peter Salama said Tuesday that more than 400 potential Ebola contacts had been vaccinated. Although he could not say for certain the city had been safeguarded, there has been no explosive increase in cases. Salama added he hoped to get government approval within days to use 5 experimental drugs to treat Ebola patients in a clinical trial, which could lay the groundwork for more rapid treatments in future outbreaks. A Malian illegal immigrant has been offered French citizenship after scaling up a wall of a Paris apartment building to save a boy who was about to fall from a 4th-floor balcony. VOA's Bambara service spoke to the 22-year-old Mamoudou Gassama about this heroic act.
I was with my girlfriend, and we were going to watch a match, a soccer game, in a restaurant. We arrived at the restaurant and ordered some food. Before we started eating, I saw the crowd outside. Some people were screaming, and drivers were honking. I went outside, and I saw the 4-year-old kid hanging on the 4th floor. Thanks God, I didn't think twice. I crossed the street and was able to run up there to save him. Thanks to God, I did. When I started going up, I got some courage to go save him. When I did, police arrived and put us both in a room, and I was shaking and I couldn't stand on my feet. I was so shaken by what I did.
Mamoudou also spoke about his experience after meeting with French President Emmanuel Macron.
I was very pleased. He called me and met with me. He asked me to explain how I did it, and I also asked him to help me. I left Mali through Burkina Faso, Niger, and went through Sahara. Then I arrived in Libya, where I spent some time trying to find my way into Italy. The first time I tried to take a boat, I was caught by authorities and was put in jail, and then deported back to Niger. I tried a second time. Thanks God, I made it to Italy.
Mahmoudou's video went viral and has now been nicknamed Spider-Man for reaching the boy in the nick of time. Now, 4 years after Nigeria launched the Safe Schools initiative, schools in Maiduguri are holding emergency safety drills for students. Much of the millions of dollars allocated to the initiative has gone towards building higher school walls and other preventative measures aimed at stopping Boko Haram. UNICEF says at least 1,000 school children have been abducted by the extremist group since 2009. More than 2,000 teachers have been killed and 1,400 schools have been destroyed. Those teachers who have remained have had to raise funds or use their own money to pay for security. And many children are still risking their lives to get the education they need. Chika Odua reports from Maiduguri.
It's a normal day in chemistry class for these junior high school students. But when the whistle sounds, everything changes. This is a safety drill. Students are practicing what to do in the event of potential danger. The drills only started this year. 17-year-old Mohamed Tijani helps lead them, simulating the sound of a bomb explosion.
When the bad people are come, we make to practice things that we do to protect us to the bad people.
Tijani is referring to Boko Haram, the terrorist group which emerged in Maiduguri and declared war on the Nigerian government 9 years ago, has repeatedly attacked nearby locations. But they have yet to attack this school, and the administration hopes to keep it that way. This is why they hold security strategy meetings here. The Nigerian government and donor agencies established the Safe Schools initiative in 2014 after the infamous Chibok schoolgirls abduction. The program helps pay for school security training for educators, like Principal Kolozana. But she still has to raise money to pay vigilantes to guard the school.
I'm going to feed them. With the small amount we have, the revenue small that we collect, we will feed them.
This school, the oldest in Maiduguri, has been attacked at least 3 times. There are no guards posted at the front gate, and this reporter was able to enter the campus with no questions asked. Boko Haram killed the principal and another educator in this room a few years ago. Today, the only protection from another school attack are 2 elderly volunteers guarding the back gate. And at this nearby primary school, despite security measures, at least 5 teachers have already left out of fear.
Boko Haram is still a threat to school in Maiduguri. It's a threat to teachers and even the community. Apart from the teachers, the students, the parents in their own community, they don't want to send their word to schools because of these situations on ground. And there is no mark for Boko Haram. You cannot trace this person is a Boko Haram also.
UNICEF has directed $9 million towards the Safe Schools initiative to enhance security in classrooms. Most schools are pleased with the renovations, but teachers at Galti Marie Primary School say the walls of their school need reinforcement. While Nigerian police have been dispatched to some locations near schools, educators and students worry about their safety. One day, the students say they hope to go to school without fear. Until that happens, teachers and students are counting on these drills to keep them safe. Chika Odua for VOA News in Maiduguri, Nigeria.
During a unique career in Brooklyn, state and federal law enforcement agencies from the New York Police Department to FBI connected with the city's Muslim youth to inform them about various career opportunities. The event was organized by a New York-based nonprofit. VOA reporter Anshuman Apte spoke with the agency representatives, organizers, and attendees about the event's importance and impact.
Brooklyn's Kingsborough College hosted a special Career Day event for Muslim youth earlier this month, giving young Muslims and their families an opportunity to see for themselves what different law enforcement agencies have to offer. The event was organized by the Council of People's Organization, a non-profit that helps low-income Asian and Muslim immigrant families living in New York.
ये वाहिद है प्रोग्राम जिसके अंदर सारी सिटी स्टेट फेडरल एजेंसी आती हैं और छोटे से लेके बड़े, मेरा मतलब जब NYPD से लेके FBI से लेके सीक्रेट सर्विस तक वो सारे आते हैं और सारे चाहते हैं कि बच्चों को पता लगे और हम यही चाह रहे हैं हमारे बच्चे जो से यहाँ पे वो ना डरें और इनसे तावन रखें, उनको पता हो कि वो भी एजेंसीज के साथ हो सकते हैं.
Representatives from different state and federal agencies showcased various career opportunities for the attendees.
Events like this allow us to get our mission out there, to educate the youth and the college-age people to what ATF is all about and the role that we play in keeping them safe.
I'm here to, for community outreach for the youth of New York City and to promote the Coast Guard in areas that normally wouldn't know about our service.
For some attendees, it was an eye-opening introduction to a possible career in law enforcement.
I learned that they really try to incorporate everyone into all the jobs that they do. Like for me, as a Muslim girl who wears a scarf, just knowing that I'm able to do these jobs without there being some sort of a problem was very helpful.
I like competition. और इन सब में competition है और ये मुझे चाहिए, इस वजह से मैं government agencies को join करना चाहूँगा.
Organizers hope events like these can help bridge the gap between Muslim communities and law enforcement.
जो सी एजेंसी यहाँ पे हमारे बच्चों को भर्ती कर रहे हैं वो उनसे सीख रहे हैं कि जैसे अगर पुलिस डिपार्टमेंट नया मुसलमान पाकिस्तानी अगर अभी भर्ती हुआ है तो वो बता देता है कि अगर किसी ने शलवार पहनी हुई है और उसने शलवार घुटनों से ऊपर करी हुई है, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है वो टेररिस्ट या एक्सट्रीमिस्ट है, इसका मतलब वो सुन्नत अदा कर रहा है, रसूल की वो ये कर रहा है. इस तरीके से आहिस्ता आहिस्ता उनको भी इल्म हासिल हो रहा है.
The Council of People's Organization has been organizing this Career Day since 2011. More than 1,000 people attended this year's event, and organizers are hopeful for an even bigger turnout next year. Anshuman Apte, VOA News, New York.
You're watching Africa 54. We'll take a short break, but here's a recap of Tuesday's headlines.
Les extrémismes doivent impérativement être défaits, car il en va du destin même de notre pays. Les résultats obtenus
And joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lenore Mudu with news about cervical cancer. Lenore?
That's right. In Zimbabwe, the country has become the 8th African country to introduce HPV vaccine into its routine immunization program. The vaccines, funded by Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, and the government of Zimbabwe, is to reach over 800,000 girls aged between 10 to 14 years old across the country. UNICEF, WHO, and partners has worked alongside the Zimbabwe Ministry of Health on implementation. The World Health Organization says cervical cancer is the 4th most frequent cancer in women in the world. About 270,000 women died from cervical cancer in 2015. Approximately 90% of the deaths occurred in low and middle income countries. WHO says the high mortality rate from cervical cancer globally could be reduced through a comprehensive approach that includes prevention, early diagnosis, effective screening, and treatment programs. Medical experts say early diagnosis is key to enable a better outcome of survival for women with cervical cancer. Project Give Hope is a humanitarian project that aims to save women from cervical cancer in 20 seconds with a unique approach. Joining us in the studio is Charissa Jackson. She is a retired Air Force nurse, veteran, author, speaker, CEO, and founder of Project Give Hope. Ms. Jackson, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Great. Happy late Memorial Day. You are a veteran.
Yes, I am.
Listen, it's very fascinating when I was reading about Project Give Hope and your approach to addressing cervical cancer in 20 seconds. What is that all about?
Oh my goodness, it's a great development. It's called the thermocoagulator. It is a device that actually treats precancerous lesions on the cervix in 20 seconds. Here in the US and other countries, cryotherapy is the typical treatment for precancerous lesions. However, this device, the thermocoagulator, actually does it in 20 seconds compared to 12 minutes using a thermocoagulator. So it just makes sense to be able to treat more women, to treat them faster. It's battery operated, and so they don't have to worry about the expenses of gas cylinders using a cryotherapy machine.
Yes.
So it just makes sense. It's effective, and it can treat a lot of women.
So let's see what it looks like. 20 seconds, a woman gets seen, she gets treated. Can we actually look at the device? So tell us about who is qualified to do this treatment, given that it's so quick? Is there some specific type of training that providers have to take?
Absolutely. Thankfully, to the Ministry of Health and the Uganda Cancer Institute, they're actually training me on this device.
Okay.
So nurses like myself here in the U.S. can go to Uganda and actually get trained on this device and help be an additional medical professional treating women with this device. So anybody that has medical experience, i.e. nurses, midwife, doctors, can use this device once they're trained on the device itself.
And how does this work?
Okay, so basically, again, it's battery operated, so you will attach it to the battery, and then you plug it up with the battery power machine here. These are the two adapters that you can use to actually treat the precancerous lesion on the cervix. You have a 16-millimeter diameter device as well as a 19-millimeter diameter device. And so you choose it according to how big the lesions are on the cervix. And 20 seconds, it treats that particular lesions. The patient can come back in a 6-month follow-up to see if that precancerous lesion is gone, and you continue to follow up the patient afterwards.
What is the success rate?
100% success rate. I have actually been in communications with Malawi that actually uses the device, and they have already used it on several women, and 6 months later, the precancerous lesions were gone.
That's amazing. Now, when the precancerous lesions are gone, is there a possibility of them coming back?
Absolutely, and that's why women are encouraged to continue to do pap smears every year and do follow-up with their GYN to make sure the lesions don't come back.
So the same lesion can come back, or new lesions come back?
New lesions can come back.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So tell us about what it takes. I mean, something like that, it's quicker as opposed to cryotherapy or perhaps other approach. But what about the cost that it involves? I mean, such an equipment, this small case, how much can it cost, and how accessible is it for the woman to have it and take care of other women in the rural area, for example?
Yes, so this device itself is $1,500, which is why I created Project Give Hope, because I'm actually purchasing these devices for Uganda and able to give it to the rural community hospitals because it's so costly. So Project Give Hope actually funds the devices and I actually give them to the providers in the rural community and hospitals as a gift to Uganda.
What about maintenance? What does it take to maintain? Because a lot of times people are confronted with this challenge. They get nice equipment, but then long term there is a problem when it comes to maintenance.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great question. The Uganda Cancer Institute already has one of the devices, so they're already familiar with the maintenance, but it's very, very easy. Again, it's battery operated, so if the battery goes bad, you just purchase another battery, which Project Give Hope is helping with that. As far as the probes itself, you just clean it with an alcohol wipe to sanitize it, so unless it breaks, it's really easy maintenance to maintain it and keep it sterile for the next patient.
So where are where is this device available now? As you talked about Uganda, that's where you're focusing right now.
Yes.
And you say Malawi already has it?
Yes.
What other countries can you find it?
It currently is in 30 countries internationally, some being India, China, Zimbabwe, Egypt.
Okay.
It's in several countries already.
Okay, so quickly, if people are interested to know more about this or your project, what do they do?
Absolutely. They can go to Project Give Hope at the website, www.projectgivehope.org, and they can support what we're doing in an effort to cure women from precancerous lesions in 20 seconds.
Charissa, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Great talking to you.
Same here.
And that's Charissa Jackson. She's a retired military nurse and founder of Project Give Hope. Now, an obstetric fistula is an abnormal hole in the birth canal caused by prolonged obstructed labor. Between 400,000 to 800,000 women in Nigeria develop the condition while giving birth. The Nigerian government says addressing early marriage will help to reduce fistulas, but health workers say other cultural factors are also to blame for the high rate. Chika Odua traveled to the cities of Sokoto, Jos, and Kaduna to visit fistula treatment hospitals and meet women afflicted with the condition. Take a look.
Asmao Muhammadu was 12 years old when she got married. At 15, she had her first pregnancy.
When it was time to go into labor, I had trouble, so they had to take me to the hospital. On the 4th day, I gave birth, and my baby wasn't alive.
Her difficult labor caused a tear between her birth canal and bladder.
I noticed the leakage after I was discharged.
Asmao, who is now 27 years old, can no longer hold her urine. Her mother has the same condition. It's called an obstetric fistula. Around 500,000 women in Nigeria develop obstetric fistulas. 22-year-old Fadimatu Abubakar has had it for 4 years. Her husband left her. Most of the women here are divorced and live as social outcasts. Dr. Bello Lawal says communities do not realize that their cultural practices of traditional surgeries are also causing women to get fistulas.
The community is also not fully aware of the causes of VVF. There are a lot of misunderstanding, misconception. We know basically VVF is caused by prolonged obstructed labor and some traditional practices in this part of the world, like the Yankan Gishiri that is done by the traditional barbers, the Yankan Guria that is done by the traditional barbers. This thing lead to VVF.
Ilyasu Ningi is a traditional barber. On his female patients, he performs vaginal surgeries known as gishiri in the Hausa language. These are the tools that he uses to remove what he says are obstructions in the woman's body. He says he knows that his work can cause a fistula, but that he does the best he can to prevent it. There's a backlog of nearly 200,000 women across Nigeria waiting for fistula repair surgeries, and only about a dozen doctors to handle the complex cases. Back in her village, Asmao has accepted her fate.
I didn't feel good at all, but it was destined by God to happen that way.
With more than 20,000 new cases of fistulas, health workers, activists, and government officials say Nigeria has a long way to go to reduce the burden the abnormality causes. Chika Odua for VOA News, Sokoto, Nigeria.
And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on Twitter at Lenore Moudou. Esther, back to you.
And thank you again, Lenore, for joining us today. Please watch Lenore Moudou every Tuesday and Thursday for the latest health news in Africa, right here on Africa 54. And welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. An East London mosque has gone high-tech for Ramadan. Masjid Ramadan is now receiving charity donations in Bitcoin and Ethereum cryptocurrencies, despite ambiguity over their use among Islamic scholars. Cryptocurrencies are controversial in Islam because they are products of financial engineering and objects of speculation. The mosque hopes to get funds from Muslims in other countries, as well as make it easy for those already dealing in cryptocurrencies to find a source that accepts such payments. Next up, a Spanish high-end restaurant is embracing environmental sustainability and winning top international awards in the process. Azul Mandi, a 3-star Michelin restaurant, uses locally grown ingredients, recycled rainwater, geothermal, and solar power to create fine Basque dishes that are also kind to the planet. The building uses mostly recycled materials. All organic trash is sent daily to a compost area in the nearby town, and there are charging stations for electric vehicles in the car park. To further minimize the restaurant's carbon footprint, the eatery has tweaked the product delivery process. Instead of farmers and producers driving to the restaurant, a van does a daily pickup and for what is needed in the kitchen. And finally, making silly faces make you look younger? That's what some proponents of so-called face yoga are claiming. Yoga classes that target the face have been popping up in U.S. cities, including Los Angeles, Miami, and Chicago. Proponents say it is a natural way to fight aging. While there's no solid research showing face exercises can slow aging, experts say they can help boost muscle tone and push sagging fat back to where it belongs. But be careful, yoga fans should do the moves properly so as not to enhance or promote fine lines. And that's what's trending today. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks for watching, and good night from Washington.
Welcome to English in a Minute. This expression sounds like a violent way of eating, but it's actually not always about eating.
Here is your Russian book, Anna. Thanks for letting me borrow it.
Oh, are you done with level 1 already?
Yeah, I finished last week, and I've already finished level 2.
Wow, you are really sinking your teeth into learning Russian.
Well,